Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The feature race at Belmont Park on Sunday is the $100,000 Royal Delta Stakes for fillies and mares. It's a race and card you can bet with DRF bets. Sign up, get 300% deposit match. Deposit 50, bet with 200 only at bets.drf.com. Here's the field for the $100,000 Royal Delta, going a one-turn mile and a 16th. Pace in this race probably going to come from the number 4, Divine Miss Gray. Danny Gargan's done a really nice job with this horse. She's closing in on a $500,000 in lifetime earnings. She's a 3-time stakes winner. Not bad for a horse that was once claimed for $16,000.
No, not at all. She's really turned into a useful one here as a 4-year-old, and I understand why the connections tried to ship her out of town and tried to get a graded stakes victory in her down at Monmouth Park. It didn't work out most recently, but she won that Lady's Secret 2 starts back over a decent horse, Moonlit Garden, who came back to win next out with an 86. I think in many ways you can make the case that, you know what, if you think she is controlling speed in here at Belmont at a distance and configuration that's probably a little bit better for her, then she's the horse to beat. I'm just not totally convinced she's going to be able to walk out there on the front end. I think she might have some company.
Well, let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector and see what they have for the Royal Delta Stakes. They have Divine Miss Gray out in front, but there's the 3, Come Dancin'. There is the number 6, Frosty Ann. We know Frosty Ann especially is quick, and Come Dancing was on some fast fractions last time out in the Shine Again Stakes. Getting back to Divine Miss Gray, again, you understand why they went to Monmouth. That's a track that you would think would really do well for Divine Miss Gray. She's a speed horse, and I think she rode the track 2 back. Last time out was one of those weird races where the track didn't seem to favor speed at Monmouth.
Yeah, sometimes it's one of those things. I think more often than not, we just think that speed. Well, there are instances where not all tracks play the same. And I mean, the same can be said for a track like Santa Anita. It's not always speed friendly. Occasionally, closers can make big moves. And I think that's what you had last time. And unfortunately for her, the 2 girls that came and ran her down, they're both going to be in this spot as well. And if you think that she is going to have some company up on the front end, perhaps it compromises her chances and helps the likes of Burned and Dream Call.
New York-bred Frosty Ann has won 6 in a row for Rudy Rodriguez. She's won 13 of 31 lifetime, and she won at a mile and an 1/8 in her last 2 races. She's actually cutting back. While she's fast, she showed the ability last time out to sit off another horse. And I wonder if Joel Rosario, breaking from the outside post, knowing that the 4 has speed, isn't going to go for the lead, but she's going to be close.
I was going to say, I don't think you're going to get into any kind of duel, but I do think there's a real scenario where they break, they send her, and she just parks right off of her flank, whether it's Divine Miss Gray or it ends up being the 3 horse. I just think there's a scenario where she sits a really cushy trip in here. The question is now, is she good enough to run with these? Let's
talk about Come Dancing, the number 3, going out for trainer Carlos Martin. This horse was good enough to earn a 96 Beyer speed figure as a 3-year-old. It was her one and only race at 3. She's had all kinds of physical problems early in her career. She came back off yet another long layoff, a 7-month break, to win at Saratoga 2 starts back, and then Carlos Martin did something that I thought was a little bit strange. He wheeled her back in a week and ran her in the Shine Again and put her on the pace, a very fast pace, and she understandably tired down towards the rail. That race hasn't come back well, the Shine Again, but I wonder if she was coming back too quick. Now it's the 3rd start of the form cycle, and she's shown the ability to sit.
Yeah, I mean, it's all possible. To be honest, I look at the pedigree, and I know at face value this distance shouldn't be an issue. I'm not totally convinced that she's going to appreciate going longer. And my thought anyway, going into that Shine Again, when I saw her name stuffed back in the box, was, probably they're looking at it saying she's not the soundest horse we've ever seen. And if we can get a stakes placing, let's do it in a relatively soft group. And unfortunately, she went too fast early on. I can't help but think she's going to be forwardly placed. I know she can sit, but I think on this stretch out, you've got to be forward. And again, perhaps that just kind of adds to the sort of pace situation. I don't think they duel, but I think it's going to be an honest clip early.
Positive formulator fact for Carlos Martin, who had a big Saratoga meet with Glorious Empire. Past 3 years, older, 3rd off the layoff runners, stretching out. Sprint to dirt routes, 50% winners, a 591 ROI. We'll see what we get from Come Dancing. When she's healthy, she's got a little bit of promise. A wicked pace helps Burned, who's won 2 out of her last 3. She ran down Divine Miss Gray. She ran down Dream Call 2 back last time out in the Molly Pitcher with an 87 Beyer. She is as honest as the day is long for Graham Motion, and it's all about pace.
It's all about pace, but also I think there's an instance, or you've got to take a look and say, realistically, if you think a high 80 Beyer is going to win this race, then yes, she is a major player. let's not all of a sudden turn Burned into the fastest horse in the world. She is on a roll, no question about it, but she's never been any sort of superstar. She's usually living in that mid 80 range, and sometimes good enough, sometimes it's not. I don't know. I think she just took advantage of all the circumstances in that Molly picture. I'm not totally sold that she's going to be, even if they get such a good situation that they had last time, I'm not convinced that even she's the best closer in this race.
Tommy Albertrani, positive formulator fact for Burned. Past 5 years, last out winners going second off the bench in dirt routes, 33%, 229. She'll be running late in this race, Burned, and she is in good form for a very good trainer in Graham Motion. Let's go down to the inside. Chad Brown as the number one, No Need to Appeal. Interesting to note, this horse is routed only twice in her career. She's won both of those starts. She's now making her third start off the layoff, and I thought she overcame a slow pace at Saratoga last time out. That was a good, solid performance. Does she have to improve from a buyer standpoint? Certainly, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for big-time connections in a lightly raced filly.
Yeah, you know, you brought it up. She needs to improve, but not by a heck of a lot if she's going to be a win contender in here. I think this is one of those instances where, you know, we know Chad is not afraid to throw horses into the deep end when he thinks they fit. He's also not afraid to give them time and let them build that confidence and go through conditions. I kind of think this is a perfect example of that. She may not be a superstar, but she's a useful horse, and I think she fits in here. This distance isn't going to be an issue. She likes Belmont Park. I think she's a legitimate threat.
Dream Call at a 3-race win streak snapped by Burned, but only by 3/4 of a length in the Molly picture last time out. Although again, you could make the argument that both Burned and Dream Call were aided by the hot pace on Closer's track, and that the favorite, the morning line favorite in this race, Divine Miss Gray, was hurt by the circumstances.
Yeah, I kind of look at it and say, well, if Dream Call couldn't get the better of Burned most recently, why all of a sudden should I anticipate something different this time around? And she's another horse through 16 lifetime starts. She got a career best fig of 85. It's not like she has any sort of tremendous edge.
Top picks for the Royal Delta Stakes. Let's talk about your horse, Sneaky Betty, 8-1 on the morning line. This horse popped a 90 buyer. 2 starts back in the Delaware Handicap, and it wasn't like she was chasing some nobody. She was chasing one of the best fillies and mares in the country, and a horse that you could argue right now is a leading contender in the Breeders' Cup Classic picture, and that is a late. She ran great, Sneaky Betty, that day. She is a horse that just is consistent, seems to hit the board each and every time, and last time out in the Lady Jacqueline Handicap, maybe you could make the argument she moved just a little too soon.
Yeah, it's possible that you could look at it that way. It's also possible that you could look at it and say, take out that Delaware Handicap. Where's the race on her page that's good enough to win? I'm looking at it saying, you know what? I don't think any of the favorites have any sort of giant edge in here. And if she runs back to the Delaware Handicap, or even that Obeah 3 starts back, where I don't think she ran poorly at 20-1, I think there's a real scenario where maybe she can come along. Maybe she's not good enough to win, but at a big number, she can get a piece of this thing. I also think this distance and this configuration, you can't overlook that. She's a Maryland horse. She really likes it down at Laurel Park. She's 4 for 6 at the distance. I think this is an instance where she might get the jump on the deep closers, the Burns of the world, the Dream Calls of the world, and perhaps that's good enough. I think if those 3 horses line up in front, maybe she gets first run and then she can hold off the deep closers.
Now, I think the distances, that was a very good point you made. I like her cutting back slightly or to a mile and a 16. She seems to excel at this distance. Give me numbers.
7-5-4-2.
I know Come Dancing can run fast enough to win this race. She did so in her second lifetime start. She paired up buyers in her 2 races off the most recent layoff. That usually hints at another forward move, third start off the bench. We've got the positive formulator fact. She's been working right along since that last race, which I think is a good sign for a horse that's had so many physical problems. And she can be forward without needing the lead. Plus, she's 8-1 for a hot trainer in Carlos Martin. I'll take a chance with Come Dancing, 3-1-5 in the $100,000 Royal Delta Stakes, the feature race at beautiful Belmont Park on Sunday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account and the 300% deposit match. Go to bets.drf.com for more information. An approximate post time for the Royal Delta, 5:18 Eastern. Best of luck.